And so it begins. Welcome everyone to my cockpit. This is the car that I will be using time and time again, and the car that I hope to grow with, develop with, and get good with. Welcome to the Honda NSX and the creation of its livery. And this livery is going to stay on this car for the entire duration of Gran Turismo 7. And it's going to develop as well as I will. It is my hope that by the end of my time with it, this is one of the most famous NSX in GT7's history. Let's jump straight into this. This is going to be straight off the cuff. There's not going to be any scripts in this. I'm just going to be talking about my creation process as you will, and yeah, hopefully I don't have to edit too much. But yeah, the first step that I took for this livery was pretty much to look at other creations that have been made for this car. So this was my process and came across this bad boy, and in fact this is a concept that I've used on my previous NSX in GT Sport, so I figured might as well just go with it again. And yeah, I do quite like the color scheme and everything as well, and just the way that everything is implemented, how it's sectioned, etc, etc. And yeah, I think it's a great looking livery overall. So I'm not gonna directly copy the whole thing, of course, but I'm just gonna kind of take the concepts, some of the things that I see that I like with it, and try to apply it to my livery. There's not really too much else to that, if I'm honest, but yeah, straight after that is creating this mood board over here, and this mood board is going with the color scheme that I wish for, and that's the top left. The patterns that I'd like to kind of create within this livery. The black square there looks pretty complicated, but that's just layers upon layers, which as we progress with this creation, yeah, there's things I'm just gonna leave out, if I'm honest. And when I talk about developing the car as I develop as a racer, these things will be displayed on my livery as well. At least that's my intention for the time being anyway. Now, straight off the bat, I'm gonna show I'm gonna fast forward as much as I can. In all honesty, the length of time that it takes for me to do these, especially because I'm doing this off the top of my head with a very vague and basic board to work with, that means naturally I don't really have an idea of what I'm going to do until I'm doing it. I don't have any pre-made sketches that's going to help me define the livery. This is just top of my head, seeing what I like, trying things over and over again. And this is fast forwarded by 800%, so naturally I am moving far slow as I'm doing this, and especially going into these little details. Honestly, like zooming in and trying to line everything up perfectly, an absolute nightmare and an absolute chore. And I think that's the key thing with this. It becomes a chore at a certain point. I do like livery creation, and I did this a lot for GT Sport, but obviously never recorded it, never cared to record it. Actually, no, that's a lie. I recorded it tons, but this is the first time that I've actually followed through and tried to make this video. The fact that it's been posted means that I obviously pushed myself to do it, because in all honesty, the energy and the effort just to make one of these is exhausting. This livery actually took me about 3 hours to create, and that's 3 hours before I finally gave up and just thought, you know what, finish it as soon as possible. So you're seeing a condensed version of what I pretty much had to do to create this. And half the time in the pauses that you see, it's me just looking back to my board, trying to see what I can change, maybe ways that I can make it a bit more interesting. But for the most part, with this just being a start, I pretty much figure eventually, just keep moving on. Any changes that you need to make, you will make eventually. But these are the little details that I really want to focus on eventually, and that's pretty much If you remember back to my board before, in fact I tried to put a layup, an overlay over the top of the picture that I'm using. I'm trying to create this little pattern that you see in this picture over my bonnet. Now eventually what I get to is nowhere near that level of detail, but I do intend, once again, as I develop the livery and things move on, I do intend to continue to make these little improvements to the livery and make it just a bit more unique, because obviously as we start off it's going to look very basic, not going to look all that interesting, but hey ho, everyone has to start from somewhere, and this is the start for my beloved NSX. Now lining these up was an absolute nightmare, I won't lie, but as you can see, the shapes start coming together, things start taking good shape, I guess, and yeah, just it's the little subtleties. No one will ever see these little things, but just the fact that I can put it there, I'm gonna put it there, and I'll add, and as I keep saying, I'll keep adding more and more detail as time goes on. But I wasn't really feeling like sitting here for a whole work shift to try and get a livery done. And besides, this video here is meant to just be like introducing me into the YouTube world, I guess, make me feel a bit more comfortable, help me to see that maybe video editing and just posting things out there is not that bad. It's not that big of a deal. And intentionally, I'm not gonna edit this too much. I have just decided I'll talk as much as I want to, and yeah, we'll see how it's received. Anyways, for anyone that's watching, if you want to drop a comment on what I could do better, what I should have done better as I'm creating this, that's appreciated. And in all honesty, yeah, I can take criticism well, so if you think this sucks, do let me know and I will try to make improvements. And I'm also not gonna do a schedule just yet, because in all honesty, work has me pretty stressed at times, and yeah, I don't want to put any unnecessary pressure on myself. For the time being, I'll post when I feel like it, and hopefully I can post at least once a week, but if not, it's not that big of a deal to me. I'm just doing this for the banter and the lols. But now on to creating, or not creating, but picking some sponsors. It's a lot harder than you think. I think ultimately at the end of the day I decided that the sponsors I'm going to put on are going to be like brands that I use. So I chose to put Thrustmaster, which is my steering wheel, and what else did I go for? I'm seeing this just as you are. Oh yeah, of course, Honda, just to create the brand, because I had nothing else, if I'm honest. Pretty much all the official stuff are not, I don't really do too many branded things, so yeah, I realized, in fact, you know what, I should probably get Adidas on here at some point. I hesitated muchly, but YouTube seemed like a very fitting sponsor to have on, especially because of the colors of red and white, and it fits really nicely at the top there. Now I wanted something lower down to kind of highlight the shape of this car, especially at the front, because I think this car has a beautiful front end, if I'm honest, and you know, I don't think I'm the only person that thinks this. This car, in fact, in my opinion, is probably one of the best looking GT3 cars in the world, without a doubt. Now onto the side view, and on the side view I was trying to make it somewhat match the bonnet, of course, naturally, as you'd want to, and I also remembered the livery of the car that I selected before and tried to kind of do something similar to what they'd done. Followed the shape of the door and also that streak, kind of using the car's contours to choose where things are going. And here I was trying to place that kind of extra shape that they had on their car, but I didn't really like the way that it looked. It didn't really fit well with my car, so I decided to place it slightly differently, as you see here, and also have an accentuating color, which was obviously always going to be red, and carrying on the motif of what's already on my bonnet and trying to place it in a way that links with my bonnet. But in all honesty, I was rushing a little bit at this point. I just kind of wanted to have things somewhat completed, and yeah, it was a bit of laziness on my part, but in truth I will continue working on this. But I've got the video made, I guess, and yeah, now just adding the red. I do quite like the somewhat transparent paint, or the transparent decal that you can put on the sides, and just wish to add a bit more branding, and I just tried to look for branding that makes sense with the color scheme that I've gone for. And of course most of it is going to be black and red, but I might throw in some other colors there just to mix it up a little bit. But pretty much Thrustmaster, I wanted to go for a brand that I use, so I chose Thrustmaster. However, Texaco was just, yeah, going with the color scheme that I have, just putting something there, seeing how it looks. But I did quite like the way it looked, and even seeing how the car looked in red, it looked really nice, if I'm honest. But I also really wanted to change the rims up, so I went back to the shop, bought a set of rims, and I believe I bought some BBS rims, and went back. I just wanted some black rims, and I don't like to paint my rims, so I prefer having genuine rims on there. And I added BBS to my sponsors because, well, I'm using their tires now, so just figured, keep the brand in there. I'll add logos that I do use myself. Hopefully I'll add my own logo very soon in this game, but pretty much at that point I decided to finish the livery. Here's the review.